Hi everyone. It has been a while since I did a writer's diary episode for my YouTube channel, and I'm actually kind of gonna start that series over again and rebrand it as the artist diary. I am a writer, but I'm also an artist, and I think that keeping, or maybe the creative's diary, just keeping a ongoing video diary of my creative practice is something that I've been wanting to try. This can encapsulate writing and collage and drawing and making comics and crochet and knitting, and basically anything else that I decide I want to share with you guys. That's all I'm doing right now. So the last time I had done a writer's diary project video, I was talking about how I was still working on getting acclimated to morning pages when I first started doing my artist way journey. This was a couple years ago now. It's been a while. Both of my children are 17 months apart, and at that point, I believe only one of them were in school for half days. I don't believe I had been diagnosed with ADHD yet, or I had just been diagnosed. I was in the car a lot, driving my kids to different activities and things that they needed to do, and my life looked very different. And my capacity for what I was able to do with the time that I had looked very different. Since that time, I have been able to work up my capacity and come up with strategies in order to handle my day-to-day better. Something in how my body works as I've reached my the second half of my 30s, I am feeling more inclined to go to bed earlier in the evening and wake up earlier in the morning. Right now I'm in a routine where I wake up at 5, which actually gives me time to get my morning pages and usually some art done before anybody wakes up, before my husband wakes up to get ready for his job, before my kids wake up to get ready for school, before the dog even gets up and wants to go outside. It actually works out really well. Some mornings I'm tired and I go back and I lay on the couch. Sometimes I might do that even after my morning pages. One of the things I've talked about previously is the fact that I think that morning pages need to be a little less prescriptive as far as like the morning part. I do think daily pages are important. I understand the concept of doing them in the morning because it's kind of like a brain dump and you clear out that space to open the channel for the rest of your creative process. But if somebody has a busy morning and isn't a morning person or can't prioritize that first thing in the morning, I would understand doing them later in the day. I've often done them later in the day. I did almost 2 years of morning pages. Just that practice made a substantial difference in my creative practice. I stopped there. When I got to the artist date, this In the Artist Way by Julia Cameron, I don't know how to do the camera flippy thing. I'm listening to the audiobook so that I don't have to pressure myself to sit down and read, because that often doesn't happen when I want it to happen. I'm listening to the audiobook, then I'm going through and doing the exercises, saving the quotes that feel relevant. I'm trying to do, right now I have 2 more exercises that I have to do for the week 1 check-in, which we'll go over in a little bit. The second part of the basic tools for the artist way is the artist date, which is where you take yourself out by yourself on like a creative adventure or on any type of adventure. It's something you do solo that is something just for you. When I first read that part or listened to it, I was like, yeah, okay, that'd be nice, right? Stay-at-home mom with 2 small children. We ended up getting a puppy unexpectedly, managing all of the appointments and things we needed to do, managing to help my son who is diagnosed autistic, in order to help him get acclimated for getting into school and thriving in that environment. Like, I just, as if I could just go have a couple hours to myself to do what I would want to do. And often when I did have time, it was time that I was spending with my husband, because we were, you know, both kind of exhausted. Our second child was born the week that lockdown started, which is a lot. It was a lot. We ended up moving back to where my family lived and where his family lived, where we both grew up. I'm gonna grab some water because everybody should drink their water. My ADHD meds give me super dry mouth, so I have my trusty water bottle with me at all times, unless I'm drinking coffee, but I've cut that way back. So yeah, I very much scoffed at the idea of the artist date. And looking back now, like, I kind of understand the purpose of it, and I get why, like, she makes this whole thing when she's writing the book about how, you know, you have to protect and guard that time, because it'll be really easy to you know, skip a day or allow other people to tag along, thinking specifically of spouses and kids. And I did not want to feel like I was being bullied into having to set aside this time for myself. It didn't feel feasible at the time. And I'm glad I did that. I was still operating in a space where I was not keeping up with a lot of things that I needed to keep up with. And so, like, I was at, all my spoons were used up. I did not have the ability to keep up with that. So I didn't. I put the book down, and every time I thought about doing it, and I thought about the artist date, and I thought about my life, I was like, not yet. Well, my kids both started full day school this year. In the fall, a couple weeks ago. And so it felt like it was kind of the time. And I decided on a whim to start last Monday. I had started getting back into my morning pages. I had been off them for a while. I had started getting myself ready to wake up at 5 a.m. for the school year. During the summer, it was a little bit more relaxed for the entire family. And I just sort of said screw it and decided to do it. I knew that it's a 12-week program, and that there's a lot of, like, writing exercises and activities to do along the way, but I knew the main things was the morning pages and the artist dates, and I finally felt like I could make that commitment. And I'm glad I waited. I know the artist way is kind of going through a little bit of a renaissance on the internet. I've seen a lot of people talking about it in videos recently, and I really wanted to help facilitate a big change as far as how I think about my creative practice, about how seriously I take myself as an artist and as a writer. I actually, last week, without thinking about the artist way necessarily, I did a release ritual, which was just a simple fire ritual where I released some of the notions of what I thought I needed to do with my life on, like, a professional level and on a creative level. Not that I wouldn't necessarily end up doing those things, but, like, the expectation was really holding me back. The idea that I had to put so much of my energy into these certain things was really holding me back. I think the main thing is probably, like, writing novels, is what I wanted to do when I was a kid. As somebody who was very shy and introverted and labeled as a gifted kid, I was reading a lot. I was reading a lot of fiction, and it seemed like building my own world where I could have a say over what happened would be the best career choice. And I was naturally gifted at writing. I didn't really have the wherewithal to build a practice around writing. I struggled to keep a daily journal. I struggled to keep any type of journal, and I tried over and over again throughout my entire life. I struggled I had wonderful ideas all the time, and I would start my ideas, and then nothing ever came and happened with them. So I started this before I decided to do the artist way. I did this fire ritual where I released this idea that I had to be a novelist, that was my version of success, was being a paid writing novelist. Again, not that wouldn't necessarily happen in the future, but the idea that I needed to still put so much energy towards it was causing more harm than good. And since then, I focused on my comic drawing, and I focused on my collaging and making journal prompt collage cards, which I enjoy to do. And it led me to this. I feel like the artist way is going to be a good catalyst to kind of point me in a direction. Interestingly enough, I also got a new idea for a new book like 2 days ago. And I actually consecrated a journal and got a mood board made for kind of the vibe of the story that came in really quickly and suddenly and took me by surprise. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe it'll be a comic. Maybe I'll write a book about it. I don't know. I have proven to myself that I can show up for things for long periods of time by doing the morning pages as long as I have. My Substack, my original Substack, which has gone through many rebrandings. It's now called the Contemplative Creative or Contemplative Creativity. That's at least 2 to 3 years old, and I send out fairly regular newsletters there. My fiction Substack is called Letters to Imaginary Friends, and I don't have as many subscribers there because I don't push it very much. It's more just like I have an urge to share my work as I go. And this is just to encourage me to do more fiction writing. And right now I'm writing a meditative series through the rainbow of colors. It kind of goes with the vibes of like energetic signatures with colors and color magic and the chakra system, although I'm not an expert on that and that's not exactly what I'm doing. It's mostly a journey. It started off as a free writing exercise where I'm writing letters to my grandmother. She's not necessarily an imaginary friend, but I'm writing letters to my grandmother about this journey, about keeping my inner flame alight and going through on these different colored paths with some companions and like learning things about myself along the way. But it started off as a free writing exercise where I'm like writing through the perspective of my inner child. And it makes a lot of sense because I grew up in a really small town and playing outside with my imagination was like kind of all there was to do. So I'm writing that, and it's kind of opened this idea that like maybe I could write more. You know, maybe I could keep going. I like the way that the free writing is going and I enjoy sharing it. I would like to try to do something like bigger, but I released that expectation because it didn't feel like it was I felt like it was actually causing me harm to keep holding on to it. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that I've journaled about that comes to that. And it's not really important. So I am doing a Monday to Monday week. Tomorrow is the last day of my first week. And so I am going to do the weekly check-in via video with you guys. And that's kind of going to be the situation when I'm able to do it, as I'm able to do it. So the first question is, how many days this week did you do your morning pages? 7 out of 7. We always hope. How was the experience for you? So far I've done my morning pages every day, even though one of the days it was in the afternoon. I don't always write 3 pages. That's also sometimes comes down to my attention span, sometimes comes down to my bandwidth. I am trying to push myself to do 3 pages more, because I do think that like that clearing out really does help. And I have to say, I think I see more benefits on the days that I'm able to write 3 pages. I don't see why I wouldn't do it tomorrow. But the experience has been good. Like I said, waking up early in the morning before anyone else in the house has a chance to ask me for anything is kind of the way that I'm able to keep up with that. So if I do that, then I think I'll be fine. Did you do your artist date this week? Yes, of course, we always hope. And yet artist dates can be remarkably difficult to allow yourself. What did you do? How did it feel? I am going to go on a little bit of an artist date today. There is a festival in a town nearby me that I'm going to go check out their antique mall, hit some sales. That is very impromptu. My other one was impromptu as well. I went and took my dog. I did bring my dog with me for a walk at my favorite trail so that we could visit the fairy tree that I like to visit. And it was not very long because it was a little bit warm at that point. I had thought at that point that I had recovered from being sick, and apparently it did not. My system had not quite kicked it yet. And the dog got wore out really easy. But we were there. I took pictures. I was very present. It was a fun experience. It was something I did just for me. It was a pain in the butt, honestly, because they don't open the bathrooms at that park. And yeah, kind of rushed my entire day. But I did it. And now I'm wondering if the little adventure I go on today is going to end up being better. We'll see. Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. I do waffle a little bit on the affirmations. One of the things for week 1 is finding your writing affirmations and finding, I don't remember the word she uses, but like the little like thoughts that come through your brain. Like if you write, I am a prolific writer, and your brain's like, who are you to say that? Why would you say that? Like the things that come through you, you're supposed to turn them into positive affirmations and write them out 10 times each. I have been writing out affirmations. I do believe that they work. Mine are more related to bravery and doing hard things and building discipline. I had those already picked out for me because it's something I've already been actively working on. Bravery when it comes to people pleasing and being more vulnerable in my work. And then I think as far as like doing hard things and having discipline, I think that's just a story that I've had since I was a kid. You know, I grew up undiagnosed ADHD, got diagnosed in my 30s like a lot of people have, a lot of women have at this point. It's uncovered a lot of trauma and uncovered a lot of shame that were inbuilt in my system because I thought that it was a personal failing that I didn't have discipline and follow through, and that I didn't work on things I wanted to work on, even though I had time to do it. I just wasn't working on them. There was a big narrative of laziness and not caring enough and not willing to do the hard work, which I always thought was very unfair. And then, you know, of course, my inner critic really grasped onto that. So that's what I've been working on. As far as my affirmations are concerned, blurts, that's what she calls them. You have to listen to your inner monologue and see if any blurts come up when you write, like, I am a prolific writer, I am a prolific artist, I am a prolific dancer, like whatever your thing is, and see if any blurts come out. The only thing I will add is that I've also been using hypnosis journeys. There's free hypnosis videos here on YouTube. But I've also been using hypnosis to help build my confidence and discipline skills. When I take a nap or when I go to bed at night, I do like a 30-minute hypnosis, because I really think that there's a lot of power within our subconscious that we don't give it credit, and we probably should. And so I'm kind of coming at it from all these angles where I've had a little bit of success, and I'm hoping that like the culmination of all these tools will really help me push past some of these limitations and blockages that have kept me, I felt stuck. That's where I've been at. That is my week 1 check-in for the Artist's Way. I'm really excited because that's as far as I've read in the book. I stopped reading, and I'm gonna start reading for the next week tomorrow. I'm gonna do some more journaling. I'm gonna do as many of the exercises as I can. The 2 exercises I have not done yet is there's like 2 letters that you're supposed to write and mail to yourself. I've not done that portion, but I've done all the other exercises in the back so far. And I'm gonna do the letters today or tomorrow. I just didn't have time this morning. So far, I'm really happy and proud of how I have followed through on this. And I hope that sharing it with you will help to keep me engaged. If you guys have any questions, I would love it if you would leave them in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not already. Tell me if you have done a similar program to the Artist's Way, or if you've done the Artist's Way yourself, if you're thinking about it, if you want to work along with me. You know, there's always time to get in this thing. And yeah, I think that's everything. All my links and pertinent information will be listed below. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend, and I hope you go do something creative today.